This is Tom Dupuy with Online Media Masters, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make your WordPress site load faster. So a fast WordPress site is obviously very important for your conversion rates, and it also is a ranking factor in Google. So I'll just get right into it. The first thing you want to do is go to gtmetrix.com and run your website through it. And it will tell you your current page load time, which is the best indicator of a fast website, not necessarily your scores. But you also see in the page speed and why slow tab, they have a bunch of recommendations that are going to be specific to your site. And you can see that some of these are high priority, some of them are medium and low. And you can click on each item to get further details about it. But one thing I want to point out is that none of the speed testing tools are really specific to WordPress. So they're not going to say change your host or install W3 Total Cache or anything like that. So all of my recommendations are going to be specific to WordPress. And you can see I have a pretty good page load time right here. And I've also optimized I do it as a service, so I've optimized a ton of websites for my clients. And I'm basically just going to be going over the same things that I do, so you can do them too. And for a reference, if I wrote a blog post about this, so if you Google why is WordPress so slow, you should see my post in the top results, and you can get all of these recommendations and further details here. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you have a good fast host. I like SiteGround, and if you look at even the WordPress optimization guide, there's an official, if you Google like WordPress speed guide, I think it's right here. Yeah, WordPress optimization. So literally the first thing they do is list that you should have a good fast host. So there's a lot of hosts out there. I like SiteGround. Basically, if you're using a shared hosting plan, you're sharing servers with hundreds or thousands of other websites, and it's not efficient. It's not going to make your WordPress site run as fast as you want to. So you want either VPS hosting, managed WordPress hosting, cloud hosting. It really depends on your budget, but if you are doing a shared hosting, SiteGround has different types of shared hosting packages. There's like Startup, Grow Big, Go Geek, but you can also do SiteGround Cloud Hosting, which is I think $45 a month or $54. But it's going to make a huge improvement in your site speed. So really just, I mean, if you look at all the research, SiteGround has a ton of really good reviews, but I think you get the gist of it. Just choose a good fast host. Some people like WP Engine or Bluehost has an optimized WordPress hosting option. So there's a few good ones out there, but I just prefer SiteGround. So the next thing you want to do is configure a cache plugin, and I like W3 Total Cache. So before we jump into this, I'm going to recommend that you back up your site because cache plugins are a little strange and they can affect some things on your site. I've seen it crash websites before, worst case scenario, but usually this doesn't happen, or it'll mess up the formatting, which it's just a matter of configuring a few settings. But just back up your website before you do this, just to be safe, but you should be fine. So go ahead and install the W3 Total Cache plugin. And just go here and go to Add New and search for W3 Total Cache. And go ahead and install it. And when you do, you're going to see a bunch of these different performance tabs right here. So you want to configure almost some of these are the default settings are okay, but a lot of them aren't. I could spend 10 minutes going over W3 Total Cache, but instead I'm going to refer you to my tutorial So if you Google W3 total cache settings, mine is this one right here. And it walks you through all the different performance tabs, and it also helps you set up Cloudflare and Max CDN, which is a paid service, and you can also do W3 Total Cache Pro. They're all really good, but at least do Cloudflare. And this tutorial walks you through, like I said, all the different performance tabs. You can see there's the general settings, page cache, minify. So I have the general settings right here, and a few pointers about what to do and what not to do if you're using Cloudflare, CDN, shared hosting, things like that. Here's the page cache. So this tutorial is pretty extensive, but it should help you a lot. It shows you how to set up Max CDN, Cloudflare. Also, there's things like page rules at the bottom that you want to set up. So there's a lot to it, but just the W3 Total Cache plugin can shave seconds off your page load time. So it really is worth it to spend some time going through the different settings and setting up Cloudflare and the other services that are integrated with it. And don't forget to do the extensions right here. So this is where you can enable Cloudflare, support for the Genesis framework and yoast and things like that. So really just follow my tutorial and set up W3 Total Cache. If W3 Total Cache doesn't work, there's also WP Super Cache or WP Faster Cache, which are both pretty good. But W3 Total Cache is known to be the best, most extensive cache plugin. So the next thing you want to do is go through your different plugins. Basically, every plugin you add to your website adds to your load time, some more than others. So you might just have one really big plugin, or you might have a bunch of small plugins, but all of these can add to your load time. So the first thing you want to do is just open up your plugins menu and go through all the ones that you don't use. And then the second thing you want to do is find your largest plugins and consider deleting those or replacing those with a more lightweight plugin. And how to do this is go to Plugins, Add New, and you want to install the P3 Plugin Performance Profiler. So it's this one right here. And I'm not going to go through this, but it's self-explanatory. If you install it and then you go to your plugins menu and you look at P3 Plugin Performance Profiler, there's going to be an option to scan now, and then you want to do the auto scan, and then you just want to let that run and analyze your plugins, and it will tell you which of your plugins are the largest ones that are slowing down your site. So this is the screen you will get to, and there's all different types of graphs, but just look at the screen and look at your largest plugins and figure out which ones you could either delete or replace with a lightweight plugin. But the other thing I want to add is, let's say you're using a Google Analytics plugin, and that's all it does. Is maybe you used it to install the tracking code, and that's all you're using it for. Well, instead of using a plugin for that, you can actually use the Google Analytics, copy your Google Analytics tracking code, and insert it directly into your theme. So in this case, I think it's, if you go to themes, oh, that's not it. Here we go, Genesis theme settings. This might be different for your website depending on your theme, but all you want to do, oh, it's actually in the simple edits. You just want to paste the Google Analytics code into your footer directly right here. Where is it? There it is. Okay. So you can see I pasted the Google Analytics code right here. So instead of using a plugin for that, I just pasted the code directly into my footer. And you can do this with, if you're using like a Twitter widget or a Facebook widget, you can actually go to, Facebook social plugins and get the code directly from Facebook and paste it into your widget or whatever area that you need this. So basically you're just taking plugins that you really don't need, and then you're getting the code directly from either Facebook or Twitter, Google Analytics, and things like that. So the more plugins you can eliminate and use code or static HTML, the better. Delete plugins you don't need. And I have a few plugin tips. Basically, I went over all of these, but when you're done using a plugin, so for P3 Plugin Performance Profiler, I ran my diagnosis. I found out what I needed to know, and I'm basically done using the plugin, so now I can delete it. And don't just deactivate the plugins, delete them when you're done. Otherwise it will cause security vulnerabilities. So the next step is to optimize images. There's basically three things in gtmetrix as far as optimize images. There's optimize images right here. There's serve scaled images. And then there's specify image dimensions, which is right here. So each of these are a little different. Probably the easiest thing you can do is bulk optimize all your images. And I like to use the image optimizer for that. If you go to plugins, add new. There's going to be a lot of plugins involved in this, by the way. But you just install the image optimizer. Go ahead and install now. And once you install it, you're going to see under the media section, you're going to see a bulk optimize option. I also use WP Smush, which basically does the same thing. So basically, whether you're using WP Smush or image optimizer, there's going to be an option to bulk optimize your images. And you just let this run. It's going to take a while, but this should fix a lot of the optimize images section on your gtmetrix report. So the next thing you want to do is serve scaled images. And basically what this means is that if you have an image in your media library that is 800 by 800, but then you paste it into your visual editor and resize it to be 400 by 400, I'll show you what I mean. We'll just do this. So what a serve scaled images means is that the image file, the original image file, the dimensions of that image are not the same as the image displayed. So if I have hang with me for 1 second. We'll just do this. So if I have an image here and I drag to resize, then I'm not actually resizing the image, I'm resizing the displayed image, which is going to cause slower load times. So instead of using this drag to resize feature, you actually want to scale the images in your media library. And that should fix a lot of images. The other thing that can happen for serve scaled images is your featured image dimensions. So say like if you're a blog or if you have a blog and you're using a lot of these featured images to show up in, whether it's on your home page, your blog, or wherever, you want to make sure you're using the correct featured image dimensions, which can usually be found in your theme documentation. Or look at the theme demo and copy an image and see what dimension it is. But basically, you want to make sure you're using the correct feature image sizes. So if a featured image calls for 150 by 150 pixels, but you're using one that's 300 by 300, then that image is going to take twice as long to load and will slow down your site. So basically, make sure you scale your images in the media section, and you also use the correct featured image dimensions. The other thing for images is specify image dimensions. So basically, the visual editor here will take care of that, but all this means is that each image has a width and a height that's specified. So once you paste your image into the visual editor, WordPress is automatically going to use, they're already going to do this for you. But if you're entering an image in a widget or your editor right here, then WordPress is not going to do this for you since you're not using the visual editor. So what you need to do is go to, first of all, look at your gtmetrix report and figure out which images need to be specified, as well as serve scaled images. And then find that image and just make sure you have the width and the height specified right here. One thing about the optimizing images is that when you run your website through gtmetrix or other speed testing tools, they're not going to show you all the unoptimized images for every single image on your site. It's only going to be for the page that you run your site through. So I would start with site-wide images. For example, your logo or any images that are in your footer or any sidebar widgets that appear on multiple pages, because by fixing those, you're fixing them for multiple pages and not just one page. And then I would also go through your most important pages and run them through gtmetrix and figure out which images need to be optimized. So I think that's it as far as specified image, or as far as optimizing images. Displayed images, EU optimizer. One thing, sometimes the EU image optimizer doesn't optimize all your images. So the way to manually do it is if you click this, it will show you the optimized version of an image. And what you want to do is just click that, save it to your desktop, and then upload it to your WordPress site and replace the unoptimized image with the new optimized image. So you'll have to do that for each image and each page you want to optimize. But for pages that are getting hundreds of views and your home page, things like that, it's worth taking a little bit of time and making sure that it's done correctly. All right, the next thing we can do is run the WP Optimize plugin, which basically deletes your spam folder, trash, pingbacks, and any unnecessary files. And this is really easy. All you have to do is go to Plugins, Add New, and install the WP Optimize plugin. And when you're done doing that, you'll go to WP Optimize right here. And you can select which unnecessary files you want to delete. Post revisions, I usually don't use these, but make sure you know what they are. Basically, WordPress stores every single post revision you have, so you can just delete these. Draft posts and trash and spam comments, unapproved comments, which a lot of these are spam. Do not select this, but you can also do pingbacks and trackbacks. So just go ahead and process, and that will delete a lot of your junk files from your site. And a lot of these plugins I'm going through have a schedule option. So if you leave them on your site, you can have them run automatically once every like 2 weeks. So you can do this with WP Optimize. The Image Optimizer plugin has a option to, or I think it's a WP Smush It, has an option to automatically optimize images once they're uploaded to your WordPress site. So I like to delete the plugins when I'm done and only use them when I need to, just to minimize the amount of plugins I have on my site. But if if you don't want that maintenance, then you can just schedule these to run automatically. So when you're done with that, the next plugin you want to use, if you see the remove query strings from static resources right here, if you see that's not 100%, then you can just install this plugin right here. It's called Remove Query Strings from Static Resources. It's got good reviews, and it should just take care of this automatically. You don't need to configure anything, just install and activate it, then you're done. Same thing with cache Gravatar images. So when someone leaves a comment on your blog, that Gravatar image basically is pulled from the Gravatar website, and it's another request. Or the Gravatar link. But the Gravatar images are not cached. So this plugin, I've already tested a lot of plugins out there, and the NX Gravatar Cache plugin is just one of those ones that you install on your site, activate it, then you're done. Install it, go to settings, this, and then make sure it's enabled, then you're done. The next thing is social sharing plugins. So a lot of social sharing plugins can slow down your site. Really, you just want to look at your gtmetrix report and go through your different items. And if you keep seeing your social sharing plugin show up, then you might want to replace it with another one. So these are the ones that I recommend. Genesis Simple Share if you're using the Genesis framework. Dig is good, WP Social Sharing, and this is a premium one. The next thing is lazy load your images. I actually don't use this, but a lot of people like to. What it does is basically, instead of loading your entire web page, it's only going to load the top part of the page. And then as you scroll down, it's going to load the bottom sections. So yeah, I don't use that, but I know a lot of people like to. My site loads fast enough that my pages load pretty much instantly, and I don't need to use that plugin. All right, let's regroup here. So the next thing we do is install any unused themes. And this is easy. If you just go to Appearance Editor and select the theme you want to delete, you can delete any themes that you're not using. Add expires headers is going to show here in gtmetrix. Where is it? add expires headers. So all you need to do is go to your htaccess file and add this code right here. And you're obviously going to have to go to my tutorial for this, but the code's right there. So you also don't want to use a Google map in your footer because Google Maps take a long time to load in general. So just avoid using Google Maps, especially on site-wide places like your footer or sometimes your widgets. The other thing is unchecking forced rewrite titles in Yoast, since Yoast actually recommends against this. They say it can considerably slow down your site, and this is the least desirable option. So the most desirable option if you're using Yoast is to go into your header.php and change the title element, and basically go into the header.php, select everything between the two titles, and replace it with just this. The next option is disable trackbacks and pingbacks. So if you go to settings discussion, you'll see the option for those. Settings, discussion. I think I actually have mine on. Yep. Yeah, right here. I have mine on. It really doesn't affect your site that much. I mean, there's core things like your hosting and W3 total cache, optimized images, which is going to make a very large impact on your page load time. And there's really tiny things like this, but if you don't use pingbacks or trackbacks, then you might as well just deselect these two and go from there. These are basically the same thing. Reducing the number of sidebar widgets. You really just want to reduce the file sizes of your pages. And that can mean if you're using a ton of videos on a page, or if your page is super long, or you're using a ton of like plugins and requests on a page. So basically deleting or reducing the number of sidebar widgets and using some of these recommendations to reduce the size of your individual pages is going to help a lot. On a side note, you can, in Google Analytics, you can also see some of your slowest loading pages by going over to give me a second. Behavior, site speed, and I think it's speed suggestions right there. So you'll see a lot of your slowest loading pages right here. The next thing you want to do is go to just make sure your WordPress is updated to the current version. Make sure you update WordPress core, your theme, and your plugins, and back up your site before you do this. Next is use a lightweight WordPress theme. A lot of WordPress themes come with a ton of built-in features, like even plugins and feature or shortcodes and things that you really don't need. So you just look for a lightweight WordPress theme that loads fast. And I like to use themes from StudioPress or ZigZagPress. I'm a big fan of the Genesis framework, which is recommended by Yoast and the founder of WordPress. But there's also a lot of other themes out there, like My Theme Shop has a lot of fast loading themes. So just make sure you have a good fast loading theme installed on your site. I have a little section for slow WordPress dashboard, so if your back end is slow, you can do a few things to improve that. Ongoing WordPress speed maintenance. Get your core speed foundation down, your hosting, from SiteGround or whoever you're hosting with. Use a lightweight WordPress theme and install the cache plugin with the correct settings, keeping your plugins to a minimum, running WP Smushit or Image Optimizer, as well as the WP Optimize plugin periodically, and keeping your WordPress updated and just being aware that certain elements of your theme or certain elements will take longer to load, like videos and large photos. And that's really it. So I know optimizing your site to load faster is specific to websites, but that should make a huge improvement. I know a lot of people have left me comments and said that, you know, this is one of the most helpful blog posts I've ever read. So thank you, Ashley. And yeah, just use my tutorial and drop me a comment if you need help. I hope you enjoyed the video.